If you already have a functional trainer rack, then adding articulating arms is probably the biggest upgrade that you can possibly make. And the good news is, it's a much easier upgrade than what you're probably thinking. What if I told you that with about 15 minutes and one of the easiest DIY projects I've ever done, you could unlock a whole new level of versatility in your training. The articulating arms that I'm going to be using in this video are the French Sport Gibbon Arms, and I'm going to be showing you how to install the arms themselves, as well as how to make your own custom length cable. The Gibbon arms may very well be the best articulating arms that you can put on a functional trainer rack. I've chosen to use these arms for this project for a few reasons. One, they're designed to fit true imperial 3" by 3" squat racks, as well as metric 3x3 squat racks, aka 75mm by 75mm squat racks. In other words, 2.95 inches by 2.95 inches. So if you're asking, will the French Sport Gibbon arms fit my squat rack? The answer is probably yes. But the one caveat to that being that the cable needs to come down the front of the rack and not be offset, kind of like the GetRx Tornado rack comes straight down the middle. Two, as far as I'm aware, they're the longest articulating arms that you can put on your squat rack. That's mostly a good thing, but is also kind of a drawback, but more on that later. Three, they come with cable and cable cutters. So assuming that you're putting these on a 4-post rack or a half rack, you have all the supplies that you need right there in the box. You don't have to buy anything additional, which is a big plus if you're in that situation. However, the cable that they provide you is about 390 inches. So it's not gonna be long enough if you have a 6-post rack, and it's definitely not long enough for me with my custom 8-post rack that I built. If you wanna learn more about why I set this up the way that I did, you can check out the card in the corner. And lastly, I needed to install these anyway so that I could test them for review. So 2 birds, 1 stone. If that's you, you don't need to DIY a custom length cable, and you can skip to the timestamp below, or you can watch the whole video to support the channel. Here's what you're gonna need to make a custom length cable. First of all, obviously, you're gonna need some cable. For the Gibbon arms, you'll need these ball terminations on one end, and you won't need anything on the other end. For the Tornado arms that I just took off the rack, it uses these eyelet terminations on one end and a ball termination on the other. But the terminations that you'll need, of course, will be dependent on the arms that you have. You'll need Allen keys. In this case, they're provided by French Sport, a set of wrenches or an adjustable wrench, cable cutters, and again, if you get the Gibbon arms, they're provided by French Sport. And the only tool that most people won't have on hand, and you'll probably actually have to buy, is this crimping tool. But don't let all of this scare you, because again, this is one of the easiest DIYs that you can possibly do. I will have Amazon links to all of the supplies that you'll need, including the crimping tool, down in the description, as well as an affiliate link for the Gibbon arms. If you use those affiliate links, it does give me a small commission, and that is what pays for these videos. So if you want to help me continue to create great content for you guys, consider using those links. Or if you want to help me out in a way that costs you absolutely nothing, click the subscribe button, thumbs up the video, and that helps me out as well. It's greatly appreciated. First things first, you need to put your articulating arm of choice onto the rack. Lock it in. Keep in mind that it will not be securely on there, so make sure not to make any sudden movements. And the Gibbon arms specifically have several different attachment points for where you can attach the cable, which is another way you can tell that French Sport was thinking universally and how can we make this applicable to as many racks as physically possible. So we'll put this on here. You'll put the bottom one on first. I did this already with both arms with no struggle whatsoever. And then now that I'm on camera, I'm having trouble. Oh, there we go. And frankly, this is the hardest step of the entire process. So if you can put the Gibbon arm on the rack and hold the roller and the bolt with one hand, it's all smooth sailing from there. Then once you get the back door on there with the two rollers, that's it. The arms themselves are installed. We're gonna install the anchor for the cable. And not only do they provide several holes, they also put oval slots instead of perfectly circular slots. And that way you even have a little bit of play front to back to align it exactly how you need for your rack. So for the Tornado rack, I'm doing the second to the outermost hole and I'm sliding it all the way to the front. First thing is, let's put a cable termination on here before we even unspool this wire. Step one, we're going to go ahead and cut the sheath so that we can put our termination on one end. Very carefully make a cut down the line. Pull off the coating here. Slide your termination on here, and this is a very important note. You want this to go on the bare steel. You do not want a cable termination to go over your plastic here because the plastic is not nearly as strong as the metal. We need it to bite into the metal so that it's nice and strong, and this doesn't go while you're in the middle of doing a very hard set and then you smash your front teeth out with the weight. And this is very simple. All you do is pump this guy down. Let the pressure off. And that's it. We have us a freshly made termination. We just need to cut the excess cable that's sticking out the end here. Then we run the cable. This part will of course be specific to the cable routing of your rack. But if you were able to put the rack together to start with, then you definitely have the technical know-how to be able to do this, no problem. Okay, now we are in the Gibbon arm. Use my Allen key to hook this cable and pull it out. Now we're lifting weights, baby. And for this last part, you do need access to the end of the cable. So rather than sliding this piece on like 20 feet of cable, I'm gonna cut it off right here with just a few more inches than I know I need, and then I can just waste a few inches, but I'll trim it back a second time. I'm gonna tell you something contrary to what the French Sport install video tells you to do. They tell you to have it on this straight out setting, because what happens is when you go up, the cable gets a little bit tighter, and then when you go down, the cable gets a little bit looser. And so they tell you to put it on this setting, and then when you go up to the top, it will lift off that top plate just a little bit because it's so tight, but you can still just kind of push down and then slot the pin in. But I'm gonna tell you, instead of the straight out setting, go one setting up from the straight out setting. I find that that is gonna be what actually gives you your best results. And it will be handy to have some masking tape or some sort of like low leftover residue tape so you're not gunking up the cables. You'll take this stopper with the small end facing in, and then you will pull it taut. You'll want to get it basically as tight as you can without lifting the plate off. And then you will mark that with your tape here, and that is where you will cut. Now before you cut, what will be helpful is if you get a 2.5 pound plate to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room here. You lift up the weight stack, you put your 2.5 pound plate there. That's gonna give you extra slack. And then you are going to cut your cable at the top of that tape. You'll put whatever appropriate cable termination on there based on the machine that you have. So we'll take the provided termination from French Sport and we will slide that on there until it bottoms out. Remember to put this little rubber sheath on first. Then we're gonna take our Allen key and we're going to tighten this on. Now, step one to this is I'm gonna get it tight enough just to where it's biting down a little bit so I don't have to hold the cable anymore. And I'll make sure to get all three of these screws nice and snug. All right, and so here's the very important part. What you need to do is you need to tighten this down tight enough that it not only goes through the sheathing, but it bites into the metal itself. Because if you only tighten it enough that it bites into the sheathing, at some point that thing's gonna pop off, and again, you're gonna lose some front teeth. So we need to bite into the metal. Okay, so that one's nice and bottomed out. We're gonna do the next one here. Once those are all the way tightened down, then we'll take the little sheath and slide it into place. And now it's ready to use. All we have to do, take our 2.5 pound plate out of the way. If anyone knows what song I was just humming, put it in the comments. I beat that game last night, by the way. Nothing like second guessing yourself after you've already made the cut. Huh, I guess I cut myself at some point. Okay, that's all. Thanks, baby. You're the bee's knees, girl. If you're interested in seeing more content just like this, consider subscribing. And there you have it. In about 15 minutes, you can install articulating arms onto your functional trainer squat rack. I'm gonna give some initial impressions on this. I'm not gonna go too in depth because the main purpose of this video is the DIY part, but I am gonna do a full review on the Gibbon arms in the future, so make sure to leave any questions you have in the comments so I can be sure to answer those for you in the full review. But also I do wanna touch on a couple of quick things that I alluded to earlier in the video. With these being the longest articulating arms that you can get, again, as far as I'm aware, that does have the benefit of a really, really wide wingspan. So you've essentially graduated from a functional trainer to a full-on cable crossover machine. This is a 48-inch rack, and this gives me 93 inches. Whereas if I just had a trolley in the middle, that would only give me 45 inches. And the other benefit of the Gibbon arms being so long is you can bring them in really close, and with just an extra carabiner, you can attach a single point attachment. But I mentioned that it was also kind of a con, and that is because you'll notice that these are coming out away from the rack a little bit. They're not coming straight in, and they actually can't go straight in, first of all, which is another weird oversight with the Gibbon arms, because you'll notice I can't actually access this setting. The reason why I can't access this setting is because this pop pin hits the frame of the trolley and it won't go far enough to access this last setting. This could have been very easily addressed by simply making this half moon a little bit bigger, which would make it stick out slightly further, and then this wouldn't hit the frame anymore. And it would also give the benefit, if the half moon was a little bit bigger, of you'd probably be able to fit one more height adjustment in there as well. So I don't really know why they did that, but also even if you could access that setting, they overlap, which seems like a really weird design choice for the length. But that part doesn't really matter though, because at the second most inner setting, it gives you the width that you need. Also, if you're gonna be DIYing your own cable, remember to use the affiliate links down in the description. And if you're gonna be checking out the Gibbon arms, make sure to use that link down in the description. Again, like the video, subscribe, that helps out the channel as well. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you in the next one. First thing,